So when we talk of AI and the AI tools, the first thing that comes in play is using the prompts. Now, what are prompts? Prompts are the inputs that you give to these AI tools to get the desired output. Now, the most difficult part of using the entire gamut of AI tools is using the right prompt, knowing how to use the right prompt. Else, you would end up concluding that this tool or this particular AI is not working for you because you are not getting the right output or the desired output. But that is only because you did not give it the right input. Let's talk a little more about it. I'm excited to dive into this essential foundation of mastering AI tools. Whether you are new to AI or looking to refine your skills, understanding how to create effective prompts is crucial. First, let's understand the basics. What are AI prompts? Simply put, a prompt is the input, a question you provide to an AI tool to generate a response. The quality of your prompt directly impacts the quality of the output you receive. Yes, input is equal to output. The better your input is, the better your output would be. If you are not getting the desired output, that does not necessarily mean that the AI tool is not useful. Most of the time, it means that the input, that is the prompt you are giving, is not sufficient. And this is the key. Crafting effective prompts is important because it ensures you get accurate, relevant, and useful results from the AI. This skill is the cornerstone of leveraging AI tools effectively. It's very, 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 very important. I don't know how many times should I be adding very to important, but it's of extreme importance that you learn the art of prompting to leverage AI tools effectively. Now, I have prepared a 4-step magic prompt formula for you that makes your task of prompting very, very easy. And that is a 4-step magic prompt formula. So what is it? It starts with role. You need to first tell ChatGPT or whatever AI tool you are using who you want it to be. You want it to be a helpful assistant, a travel expert, an accountant, a consultant, a marketing guru, a marketing coach, a life guru, an astrologer. Whatever you want the ChatGPT to be, you have to first give it a role, define a role. Next is the context. Give ChatGPT the background information. Example, I'm planning a trip to Paris, or I'm looking for a recipe for vegan lasagna. So you are now giving a context of why have you come to this particular AI tool like ChatGPT for. Once you have given it the context, now you give it the task. You tell ChatGPT what you want it to do. Example, once you've given the context that you want to plan a trip to Paris, now you give ChatGPT the task that you want ChatGPT to write a 3-day itinerary for Paris. Or you tell ChatGPT to provide a recipe for veg lasagna. So the context we gave it was I'm looking for a recipe, and the task I'm giving is prepare a recipe. Makes a lot of sense. Then I tell ChatGPT what output I am expecting. Yes, I am expecting a recipe for lasagna, or yes, I am expecting a 3-day trip, but that is the task. How do you want the output to be? You want it to be in bullet points, or in a table, or in a poem, or in a paragraph full of text? How exactly do you want the output to be? Now, once you have all of these 4 things in place, that is roles, context, task, and output, you have created a perfect prompt for yourself. And you are ahead of 80% of the people who are using AI wrong. Let's see some examples of effective prompts. Scenario 1, generate a marketing email. You want to generate a marketing email. So if you want to generate a marketing email, you want ChatGPT to be a marketing expert, right? And then you want to give it a context that you are launching a new eco-friendly water bottle. And then you give it a task to write a 200-word marketing email introducing the product. And then you give it the output that you want it to highlight features like BPA-free material, built-in feed filter, sleek design, and so on. So once you have this in place, the role, the context, the task, and the output, that's how your output looks like. So prompt 1, when I use it without the framework, I asked ChatGPT to create an email to launch a new eco-friendly water bottle. And in prompt 2, I gave ChatGPT the role, you are a marketing expert, and we are launching a new eco-friendly water bottle. Then I give it the task, that is write a 200 email introducing the product, and I then give it the output, highlight features like BPA free material, built-in filter, sleek design, and include a limited time 20% discount. And this is how the output looks like, which is much more relevant, much more accurate, and a lot better than the first one. Let's look at scenario 2. I want to create a social media post. So you are a social media strategist. If you want ChatGPT to create a social media post, you will want it to be like a social media strategist or a social media expert. So that's the role that I assign to ChatGPT. Then I give it the context that our company is hosting a virtual fitness workshop. Then I give it the task to create an engaging social media post or an Instagram caption. And output is I want the date, time, and special guest appearance in a catchy format. That's how I want ChatGPT to do. So let's see. Prompt 1 is without the framework and prompt 2 is with the framework. You will see how the results are different and how accurate and how specific the response is in prompt number 2 over prompt number 1. That's how you can use this 4-step framework. So by mastering the 4-step magic prompt formula, you are well on your way to harnessing the full potential of AI tools. Practice these steps. Iterate on your prompts and watch as your efficiency and creativity soars. So practice these steps. If you want to master this, if you want to get to a point where you no longer have to think about role, context, task, and output, but whenever you are prompting to ChatGPT, it automatically comes into that format, and you keep iterating this. So iteration is the key here. You might not, or actually you will not get the response that you want precisely at the first go. So you need to keep iterating. You need to keep asking questions or keep giving instructions on how you want the result to be customized or optimized further. Now, that was the basic prompting technique. I have an advanced prompting technique for you that will make things a lot more easier. So this advanced prompting technique has 4 elements to it. That is specificity, constraints, temperature, and chain of thought prompting. What are these 4? So specificity. Be as clear, as specific as possible in your prompts. So the more clear you are and the more specific you are, ChatGPT won't know from your 1-liner or 2-liner about what is going in your mind. It will only understand what you have given it or typed there. So the more specific, the more situations or circumstances you can give it, the better is your output going to be. Constraints. You set limit on the length or style of the response. We'll see in more details about each one of these, but yeah, this is a brief about. Temperature is to adjust the creativity level of ChatGPT's responses. Chain of thought prompting is breaking down complex tasks into smaller steps. Specificity. Now let's take each one of them in detail. Specificity. So the devil is in the details, as we all already know. Vague prompts will lead to vague responses. So to be explicit about what you want ChatGPT to do, include details like length, format, tone, and style, who it is for, what is the objective, why are you doing it, who are you doing it for. So the prompt for creating something for a 10-year-old boy would be different from the prompt that if you're creating something for a 60-year person. So the more specific your prompt is, the more targeted and useful the response will be. Let's say, for an example, a vague prompt is write about climate change. Now to be specific, I would say write a 250-word persuasive essay arguing for the urgent need for global action on climate change, citing specific scientific evidences and policy recommendations. Now that's called specific. I exactly tell ChatGPT what is the context, who the user is going to be, why am I creating this, how many words are going to be there. So I am adding a lot of these things here. Let's see. So in the first prompt, I just asked ChatGPT to write about climate change, and it did not have any objective in its mind, and it just created me a short paragraph on climate change. But when I gave it the detailed specific prompt, it created the text accordingly. And if you read it, you'll find it how different both of these are and which one is more better or more useful. You will see it for yourself. Constraints. Guiding ChatGPT's creativity. Constraints help you control the output of ChatGPT. So you can limit the length of the response, the format, the tone, and the style. So when you are asking ChatGPT to write an essay on climate change, You also add a constraint that this is for a 10-year-old guy, a boy, or a 40-year person who is a professional or an expert into climate change. So who the expected user is going to be of your essay, you need to tell ChatGPT so that it can create the content accordingly. If a layman is going to read it, or an expert is going to read it, if a small kid is going to read it, or a young man is going to read it. So you need to tell specific constraints, add specific constraints to your prompt. So constraints are especially useful when you have a specific use case in mind, and you will always have a specific use case in mind. For example, write a catchy slogan for a new electric car brand. But then I add a constraint. The slogan should be no more than 7 words and use rhyming words. And you will see prompt number 1 does not use the framework, prompt number 2 uses, and the constraints as just discussed. Temperature. Controlling ChatGPT's creativity. Temperature is a parameter that controls the randomness of any of the AI tool responses, be it ChatGPT or anyone. A lower temperature will result in more focused and deterministic responses. A higher temperature will result in more creative and unpredictable responses. So it will start thinking outside the box. Adjust the temperature depending on your needs and desired outcome. Example, so write a poem about the moon is a very vague prompt. Now I ask ChatGPT that the poem will be likely more structured and traditional if I give it the temperature of 0.2. Or if I say write a poem about the moon with a temperature of 0.8, the poem will likely be more abstract and experimental. Let's see it for ourselves. So this is prompt 1 without using any temperature. Write a poem about the moon. Prompt 2 is write a poem about the moon with a temperature of 0.2 and write a poem about the moon with a temperature of 0.8. Now if you read these 3 different poems, you will see what the difference is and what difference it makes when we added temperature of 0.2 and 0.8. Chain of thought prompting. Breaking down complex tasks. What is this? Chain of thought prompting involves breaking down a complex task into a series of smaller and more manageable steps. So let's say, for example, you are creating a Facebook marketing campaign. Now, when you create a Facebook marketing campaign, there would be a lot of steps involved, right? It is not that you just go and create an ad. You define your audience, you define your target, you define your niche, you define your product, you define the offer, and you do a lot of those things. So that is how you break down your task and give specific prompts. Instead of giving a vague prompt of create a Facebook marketing campaign for me, I break it down into 10 manageable steps and then take each of those manageable steps and then ask questions to ChatGPT accordingly. This helps ChatGPT to reason through the problem step by step, leading to more accurate and insightful responses. Our entire objective of being better at prompting is to get better responses. And the more you break it down into smaller parts, the better, the more accurate responses are you going to get. Especially useful for tasks that require logical reasoning or problem solving. So let's say, this is not the best example I would say, but let's say you want to solve a following math problem. A train leaves Chicago at 9 a.m. traveling at 80 miles per hour. Another train leaves St. Louis at 10 a.m. traveling at 90 miles per hour. So if the distance between Chicago and St. Louis is 300 miles, at what time will the two trains meet? Now, if I have to break this down into multiple parts to get specific answers about each, what could the possible breakups be? So the chain of thought prompting would be calculate the time the first train travels before the second train leaves. Calculate the relative speed of the two trains. Calculate the time it takes for the two trains to cover the remaining distance, and so on. So that's chain of thought prompting. Got it? I know you might not have understood chain of thought prompting very much, but in the leading examples and when we dive deeper into all of this, you will get a clear idea of what I'm talking about. Let's revisit our previous examples and see how these advanced techniques can be applied. Marketing analysis using ChatGPT. So I want to analyze the US plant-based meat market. So how do I be more specific about it? So analyze the US plant-based meat market in 2024, focusing on customer trends, competitive landscape, and growth projections. Provide a 1,000-word report with data-driven insights. I'm being very specific. I'm talking about a US plant-based meat market. In the year 2024, I wanted to focus on consumer trends, competitive landscape, and growth projections. And then I wanted to create a 1,000-word report which has data-driven insights. This completely changes the output. and you can understand why. Constraints include a SWOT analysis and recommendations for the new entrants. Good. Temperature. Experiment with different temperatures to see how it affects the output. Another example of consumer sentiment when we use Humata. Specificity. Analyze customer sentiment towards Tesla Model Y. So I want to analyze customer sentiment towards Tesla's Model Y. But how do I be more specific? By focusing on range anxiety, charging infrastructure, and overall satisfaction. Provide a summary of key findings and areas for improvement. Now, here I am being more specific as to what exactly do I want. Then I add a constraint, limit the analysis to posts from the last 6 months and exclude everything else. You get this? The next one is trend tracking using Feedly. Specificity. Track trends in sustainable packaging materials. Now, this is a vague one. For the food industry, focusing on innovations in biodegradable and compostable packaging. Now that's more specific, and that's what we have to learn to do better. By applying these advanced prompting techniques, you significantly improve the quality and relevance of the insights you gain from these AI tools, enhancing your analysis abilities, your market analysis abilities. So this was the 4-step prompts formula, and we will be jumping onto a bigger framework that uses the 4-step basic prompting formula and the advanced prompting techniques mixed into one in the next video. See you there.